Welcome to another live reading of Psycho-Cybernetics. We're here on Chapter 2 on page number 24, How Your Brain Finds Answers to Problems. This reading has been fantastic so far, and if you're just joining in, no worries. All the recordings of the preface and Chapter 1 are available on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you're probably watching already. So make sure you hit the follow button, and if you guys want to be a part of the book club, make sure you click the description. Okay, so I'm going to get right into reading today. Just leave your comments below if you have questions. If you're watching, my friend Joy is always here right on time, loving it. And I'm going to start reading like I said. Okay. Now let us suppose that the room is dark, so that you cannot see the cigarettes. You know or hope there is a package of cigarettes on the table, along with a variety of other objects. Instinctively, your hand will begin to grope back and forth, performing zigzag motions or scanning, rejecting one object after another until the cigarettes are found and recognized. This is an example of the second type of servo mechanism. Recalling a name temporarily forgotten is another example. A scanner in your brain scans back through your stored memories until the correct name is recognized. An electronic brain solves problems much in the same way. First of all, a great deal of data must be fed into the machine. This stored or recorded information is the machine's memory. A problem is posed to the machine. It scans back through its memory until it locates only answer, which is consistent with and meets all the conditions of the problem. Problem and answer together constitute a whole situation or structure. When part of the situation or structure, the problem, is given to the machine, it locates only the missing parts, or the right size brick, so to speak, to complete the structure. The more that is learned about the human brain, the more closely it resembles, insofar as function is concerned, a servo mechanism. For example, Dr. Wilder Penfield, director of the Montreal Neurological Institute, recently reported at a meeting of the National Academy of Sciences that he had discovered a recording mechanism in a small area of the brain, which apparently records everything that a person has ever experienced, observed, or learned. During a brain operation in which the patient was fully awake, Dr. Penfield happened to touch a small area of the cortex with a surgical instrument. At once, the patient exclaimed that she was reliving an incident from her childhood, which she had consciously forgotten. Further experiments along this line brought the same results. When certain areas of the cortex were touched, patients did not excuse me. Patients did not merely pass experiences. When certain areas of the cortex were touched, patients did not merely remember past experiences, they relived them, experiencing as very real all the sights, sounds, and sensations of the original experiences. It was just played back. Just how a mechanism as small as a human brain can store such a vast amount of information is still a mystery. British neurophysicist W. Gray Walter has said that at least 10 billion electronic cells would be needed to build a facsimile. I found a word I have to look up. A facsimile of man's brain. Okay, so facsimile starts with an F, right? It's spelled Facsimile. I don't know what the word means. I can definitely assume, but I don't know what it means. So let's see. Facsimile. Thank you for being patient here. Another thing I want to mention is I definitely give it to women, because most women, they have purses. And most women know, like, we don't go and like open the purse, take everything out. We just put our hand in and then pull out whatever we need. And that's that same exact servo mechanism that the book is talking about right now. Just that ability to recognize things by using our senses. And I think it's amazing, personally. So it says facsimile, an exact copy or a system of transmitting and reproducing graphic matter by means of signals sent over telephone lines. And comes from Latin facsimile, to make similar. Or another synonym would be duplicate. Joy said, yes, we can literally go in there and put our hand on exactly what we need without looking inside. It is a skill that women have that just, men probably may never understand. Who knows? All right. So the sentence was, British neuroscientist W. Gray Walter has said that at least 10 billion electronic cells would be needed to build a facsimile of a man's brain. A duplicate of a man's brain. Amazing what the dictionary could do for you. Okay, these cells would occupy about 1.5 million cubic feet, and several additional millions of cubic feet would be needed for the nerves or wiring. Power required to operate it would be 1 billion watts. And that being said, the brain is definitely amazing. All right. A look at the automatic mechanism in action. We marvel at the awesomeness of interceptor missiles, which can compute in a flash the point of interception of another missile and be there at the correct instant to make contact. There's a lot of quotes in this book, just FYI. Yet, are we not witnessing something just as wonderful each time we see a center fielder catch a fly ball? That's a good point. In order to compute where the ball will fall or where the point of interception will be, he must take into account the speed of the ball, its curvature of fall, its direction, wind age, initial velocity, and the rate of progressive decrease in velocity. He must make this computations so fast that he will be able to take off at the crack of a bat. Next, he must compute just how fast he must run and in what direction in order to arrive at the point of interception at the same time as the ball does. The center fielder doesn't even think about this. His built-in goal-striving mechanism computes it for him from data which he feeds through his eyes and ears. The computer in his brain takes this information, compares it with stored data or memories of other successes and failures in catching fly balls. All necessary computations are made in a flash, and orders are issued to his leg muscles, and he just runs. Okay, I have to add one more thing to this section. I know the book mentioned in the preface that it would speak about this, but also the ability to feel and see yourself catching the ball. Like, let's say you're the center fielder, right? And you've practiced so many times catching the ball. That's why it says like it has to recall other successes and failures. But obviously, the better you are at catching balls as a center fielder, right? More than likely, the more successes you've had than failures. Or maybe the more failures you've had than successes in the real physical. But also, your ability to imagine yourself catching the ball in the moment, like the high belief of you catching the ball versus you thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to catch it, then you most likely won't catch it. So the ability to see yourself in your mind's eye catching the ball is what makes it happen in an instant. Well, what seems to the outside person an instant, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because you can do that with literally anything. The higher your belief is that you will succeed, the more likely the chances are that you are going to succeed. So I definitely encourage everyone here to practice seeing yourself getting what you want on a consistent basis, right? Because obviously it's a little bit easier for a center fielder to practice catching balls because this is part of their career, or maybe it's a hobby that they really enjoy and it's something that they practice constantly. That's what makes them good. So what will make us more successful is practice seeing ourselves in attainment of what we truly desire. Someone needed to hear that. So, back to the book. Science can build the computer, but not the operator. Dr. Weiner has said that at no time in the foreseeable future will scientists be able to construct an electronic brain anywhere near comparable to the human brain. I think that our gadget-conscious public has shown an unawareness of the special advantages and special disadvantages of electronic machinery as compared with the human brain. He says, the number of switching devices in the human brain vastly exceeds the number in any computing machine yet developed or even thought of for design in the near future. But even such a machine be built, it would lack an operator. A computer does not have a forebrain nor an eye. It cannot pose problems to itself. It has no imagination and cannot set goals for itself. It cannot determine which goals are worthwhile and which are not. It has no emotions. It cannot feel. It works only with new data fed to it by an operator. By feedback data, it secures from its own sense organs and from information previously stored. So I think that little explanation right there defeats all ideas that AI is going to take over the world. Just saying. Is there an infinite storehouse of idea, knowledge, and power? Many great thinkers of all ages have believed that man's stored information is not limited to his own memories of past experiences and learned facts. There's one mind common to all individual men, said Emerson, who compared our individual minds to the inlets in an ocean of universal mind. Edison believed that he got some of his ideas from a source outside himself. Once, when complimented for a creative idea, he disclaimed credit. He said that ideas are in the air, and if he had not discovered it, someone else would have. Dr. J.B. Rhine, a head of Duke University Parapsychology Laboratory, has proved experimentally that man has access to knowledge, facts, and idea other than his own individual memory or stored information from learning or experiencing. Telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, have been established by scientific laboratory experiments. His findings that man possesses some extrasensory factor, which he calls PSI, are no longer doubted by scientists who have seriously reviewed his work. A professor, R.H. Thewlis of Cambridge University, says the reality of the phenomenon must be regarded as proved as certainly as anything in scientific research can be proved. We have found, said Dr. Ryan, that there is a capacity for acquiring knowledge that transcends the sensory functions. This extrasensory capacity can give us knowledge, certainty of objective, and very likely of subjective states, knowledge of matter, and most probably of minds. Schubert is said to have told a friend that his own creative process consisted in remembering a melody that neither he nor anyone else had ever thought of before. Many creative artists, as well as psychologists who have made a study of the creative process, have been impressed by the similarity of creative inspiration, sudden revelation, intuition, etc., in ordinary human memory. Searching for a new idea or an answer to a problem is, in fact, very similar to searching memory for a name you have forgotten. You know that the name is there, or else you would not search the scanner in your brain. The scanner in your brain scans back over the stored memories until the desired name is recognized or discovered. I want to highlight that part right there because I do want to talk about that. The answer exists now. In much the same way, sorry, taking my notes, y'all. You should be taking your notes too, just FYI. The answer exists now. In much the same way, when we set out to find a new idea or the answer to a problem, we must assume that the answer exists already somewhere and set out to find it. Dr. Norbert Wiener has said, once a scientist attacks a problem which he knows to have an answer, his entire attitude is changed. He is already some 50% of his way towards that answer. Norbert Wiener, The Use of Human Beings. Oh, he's just quoting. Where's that from? When you set out to do creative work, whether in the field of selling, managing a business, writing a sonnet, improving human relations, or whatever, you begin with a goal in mind, and end to be achieved, a target to be answered, which, although perhaps somewhat vague, will be recognized when achieved. If you really mean business, have an intense desire, and begin to think intensely about all angles of the problem, your creative mechanism goes to work, and the scanner we spoke of earlier begins to scan back through stored information, or grope its way to an answer. It selects an idea here, a fact there, a series of former experiences, and relates them or ties them together into a meaningful whole, which will fill out the incompleted portion of your situation, complete with your equation, or solve your problem. Really important part. If you really mean business, have an intense desire. Okay? You need to have an intense desire. Another book to suggest, if you really enjoy this one so far, Think and Grow Rich, or Law of Success in 16 Lessons. And you can learn a lot more about having a desire and what holding that desire can do for you. Okay. When this solution is served up to your consciousness, often at an unguarded moment when you are thinking of something else, or perhaps even as a dream while your consciousness is asleep, something clicks, and you at once recognize this is the answer you have been searching for. You gotta underline that too. In this process, does your creative mechanism also have success to store the information in a universal mind? Numerous experiences of creative workers would seem to indicate that it does. How else, for example, explains the experience of Louis Agassiz, told by his wife? He had been striving to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of a fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary and perplexed, he put his work aside at last and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he walked one night, persuaded that while asleep he had seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored. He went early to the Jardin de Plantes, thinking that on looking anew at the impression, he would see something to put him on the track of his vision. In vain. The blurred record was as blank as ever. The next night, he saw the fish again, but when he walked, it disappeared from his memory as before. Hoping the same experience might be repeated, on the third night, he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before going to sleep. Towards morning, the fish appeared in his dreams, confusedly at first, but at last with such distinctness that he no longer had any doubt as its zoological characters. Still, half dreaming, in perfect darkness, he traced these characters on a sheet of paper at the bedside. In the morning, he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features which he thought it impossible the fossil itself would reveal. He hastened to the Jardin des Plantes, and with his drawing as a guide, succeeded in chiseling away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proved to be hidden. When wholly exposed, the fossil corresponded with his dreams and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. Okay, so we're going to stop here for today. I'm going to bring on our mastermind member, Joy. And if you guys are ever interested in talking about the book live versus in the comments, you can become a member of Intentions of a Mastermind. It's absolutely free. You just have to click the link in the description, join the club, and you'll get the link to join us live on camera. But I have so much to say. Is there anything you want to add, Joy, before I go on my long drawn out thoughts?
Peace and hey everybody. So I feel like I may have brought this up maybe in a previous session, but where is it? I can't find the page. Oh, here it is. Where he says that he calls the culture gadget conscious. And I think that that is such an interesting way to describe it because he talks about how the gadget, being so gadget conscious, makes us not focus so much on how the human brain does all of that naturally and more, and more than what the gadgets can do, right? And, you know, it's just a testament to what you focus on and what you pay attention to, what you are, where your awareness is, and that's what you tend to focus on. If we weren't, and I say we as a collective, if the culture, if the society wasn't so gadget conscious, then we may be more nature conscious, right? And then that would allow for a completely different frequency to be pervading in society.
Oh my, you are hitting it on the head with that one. Honestly, people don't believe in frequencies, and I really do think it's just a lack of awareness of these things. But the research exists. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The research has been done, but then again, it's not even the lack of awareness. It's like we're so bombarded with all the stress of life that most times we don't even have the time nor the energy to think about these things. And it's because we're believing that we are put here to be stressed out. So we focus on, the lack of things and just always worried about life. And that's so untrue. And I wanted to bring up a couple of points. So, number one, the part about how the infinite source of idea already exists, right? This is what most people believe to be God. This is what most people believe to be the universe, the higher self. There is also scientific research and studies done on this, and I highly encourage everyone to watch a documentary. And the documentary is free on YouTube. Okay, so this is like resources that are available to you. And if you just ask the question, the answer will be there, right? It is called What the Bleep Do We Know? Okay, this goes into the quantum physics, the science behind this whole idea that every single reality already exists, right? And before I finished reading, he gave this experience of Louise Agassiz. And I'm assuming that he is a archaeologist, right? Because he's finding a fossil of a fish, but he saw it in a dream first. And he did something very important. And I want everyone to just pay attention to what I'm saying really quickly. When you have a thought in your mind, right? Thoughts are things. They are frequencies. But what he did, he had the same reoccurring thought or dream, right? And he decided, okay, I'm going to put a piece of paper and a pencil next to my bed, and I'm going to draw out what I have in my dream, the what I see. This is actually seeing the thought or receiving the idea. And when you focus on that idea, when you focus on that thought, it goes from being a wave, right? A frequency. It's usually like this. It's constantly moving. It's never actually physical. You can't see waves, and yet you're watching this video. You have Bluetooth probably connected to your headphones. You watch TV, you listen to the radio. All these things are frequencies. So it exists for those of you who want to be skeptical about what I'm saying. When you observe it, it now turns from a wave into a particle or an atom. And another book that talks about this quantum physics theory is a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's called something about becoming yourself or undoing yourself. If you know the name, Joy, just if you can, write it in the chat. And it's like a blue cover with like a brain, and it talks about rewiring your brain, basically. So he talks about the idea and the scientific study that when a particle is observed or an atom is observed, that's when it's actually visible. But when it's not observed, it is no longer there. And this is the idea of quantum physics and the realities as well, right? In that same movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? It talks about how every single reality already exists. And when you observe it, when you observe the one that you most believe in, right? Like the catcher in the field, that is the reality that you have, right? The perspective you have is the reality you have. So when you have a thought, an idea, and you take it from being a particle, right? You observe it and you focus on this idea and thought. And now you take paper and a pen. Where did my pen go? It disappeared. And a pen, and you write it down. That creates magic. As you can see in the book, it talks about how the archaeologist, he observed the idea of what the fish looks like. Okay, that's another one. I have that one on my reading list, but I have not read it yet. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's the name of it. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Okay, he talks about the particle theory. When you write down the things that you want for yourself, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, any thoughts and ideas that you have, and you write them down, you are taking that wave, that frequency, that thought, an idea, putting it into the physical reality. And this will increase your belief, increase your desire, right? I underline the sentence in on the page number 29 where it says, if you really mean business, have an intense desire. And I recommended the 2 books. I recommended a lot so far, but just trust me on this. And you write down your dreams, it will increase the likelihood and the chances of them becoming your reality. So whatever it is that you want, whether you want money, whether you want a job, whether you want a relationship, whether you want a specific kind of experience like a vacation or going to a concert or eating a specific food, anything that you want already exists. Is concept number 1. It already exists. It's already a possibility. It's not impossible. It's already in existence. Number 2, and you think about it and you have a desire, a really deep need for, not a need, a want, because a need can also put out the frequency of lack that, oh my God, if I don't have this, right? You're not feeling good. A want is more like, I would feel so good if I had this, right? So number 1, know what you want. Number 2, want it. Actually want it and believe you can receive it. And the next part that it brought up, when the solution is served up to your consciousness, often at an unguarded moment when you are thinking of something else, when you are in a state of allowing and you're not focusing on the fact that, oh, I don't know if I'm going to receive it or not, and like, right, when you'll find something when you're not even looking for it. My mom would always say that, and that's because in the moment she's stressed out about not finding the pair of socks she wants to wear. But when you're no longer stressed and you're no longer worried about whether or not your dreams and goals are going to come to you, that is when it happens, because you're in a state of allowing. You're no longer putting out a frequency of need and lack, okay? So, write down your goals and dreams, because you would absolutely change the entire projection of your life and you will change your reality. Somebody needed to hear that. All right. Do you want to add anything else, Joy?
I do just want to add something very, very quickly. I just want to share that the origin of things is not the same as the adaptation of things. And a lot of the stuff that we're reading about and learning about through all of these different scientists and these different books, it might seem like it's new, but it is not new. And even the ancient Egyptians back in ancient Kemet had this was their belief as well. And this was part of their spiritual practice. And their spiritual practice was not just a thing about, see, in our westernized society, we look at spirituality associated so heavily with religion. And it's something that we do outside of our daily lives, something that we do outside of our everyday to day thing. But they had a deep understanding that your spiritual life was just your life. And everything that happened on a spiritual plane, like how you mentioned, how the book mentioned with the dream, and how he woke up and even in half sleep and was able to create that image. That's that's the internal world and the spiritual world manifesting in the physical, and allowing him to continue bringing that spiritual internal energy from above or wherever it comes from, right? And then allowing that to inform his next steps in the physical world. And that's the problem solution. That's the part whole. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to lift that up because we sometimes don't even acknowledge the origin of where a lot of this stuff came from and where we actually learned it from. And then we get into these books, and I hear people say, "Oh, the law of attraction, it's not right. It's a quack. It's a scheme." None of this stuff. All this stuff works for you when you have a solid spiritual foundation. And I'm not trying to get preachy or religious or anything like that in this message that I'm sharing right now, but I want to add that if we don't work on it internally first, from the concept of self-belief, from the concept of all knowing and all trusting, then of course it's not going to work.
Amen. I actually want to expand on that because a lot of the things that I focus on nowadays is all about what are my talents and what are the things that I know about? What are the things that I have access to and the resources to call upon that can help other people. And this spiritual practice that you bring up, right? This idea that all these things already existed. There is a reason why you're watching this video right now. There is a reason why you were born now and in the current state that you were born in the current family that you were born in. There is a reason behind everything. It's not random. And there's a reason you have the experiences and the knowledge that you have, because you are meant to use that knowledge for the greater benefit of society, for your loved ones, for your community, for yourself. Even the people who are suffering, they are meant to turn that suffering into a gift. And it is up to each individual person to ask themselves, right? The book does talk about it a little bit, but I didn't get into it. But you already know the answer to everything. You just have to be willing to ask the question. And a lot of times, people will fall short and not do the work and settle on, I don't know. Or they'll go to the gadgets, to the AI, and think that those outside circumstances and resources are more intelligent than they are. But as we have already covered, this infinite intelligence you already have access to. We all do. And if we just took the time to become more aware of it, we would see the changes in society that every single person stands around fighting for. There's no need to fight for it because that is in being in a state of need and lack. When you learn to look within and find the answers within, you can bring a solution to all these challenges that we bring up and we created ourselves, really. And that is where the real change happens. So someone else needed to hear that too. Today's read was so powerful, and I thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Joy, for being here. Did you have any final words before we go?
That's it. Just no, thank you for having me. I just put some more in the comments what you just said. Just even the gift of being a speaker and being and having a great memory. Your role might be to keep the family's oral traditions alive and pass those down over and over again to the next person who comes and incarnates with that gift. But instead, we end up distracted by the world saying, you need to go be a doctor, you need to go be a lawyer. Come on now.
Come on now. Now, I want you guys to definitely continue the questions and the conversation in the comments because that's what this is all about. It's to have a conversation and to bring awareness to all these solutions because they already exist. So my name is Alyssa. We're part of the Intentions of Mastermind Book Club. And if you want to become a member, please definitely click the link in the description or the caption, wherever platform you're watching on. Give us a follow, and we'll see you guys on Friday to continue the conversation.